There's been a lot of skepticism from the COD community when it comes towards Modern Warfare 3 and what we're expecting this game to be. That being said, I do believe that there is a lot of hope for Modern Warfare 3, and I wanted to explain why. So for those of you that don't know, Sledgehammer is going to be developing the majority of Modern Warfare 3. They're like the primary developer for this game. And if you don't understand why that's relevant, or if you're newer to the Call of Duty series, let me just kind of lay the groundwork for you guys. So back during like World War II, for example, Sledgehammer developed World War II, and when the game came out, for the first couple of months, it was in a bit of a rough spot, to say the least. At least when it came to like the community's overall opinion. Like for me and a lot of other players, I actually really liked World War II through the entirety of its life cycle, but for the majority of the COD community, it wasn't in the place that it should have been until like the latter half of the game. That being said, Sledgehammer took basically all of the community's feedback and implemented it into that game in one way or another. Sure, there was still a few things that could have been tweaked or changed. There was definitely still a couple of improvements that could have been made, but for the most part, they took all of the community's feedback, they took it seriously, and they implemented it into the game, and now World War II is regarded as one of the better Call of Duties, and furthermore, it's one of the Call of Duties that everybody can agree on, the fact that it, like, out of any Call of Duty, it had the biggest 180. Advanced Warfare is another similar situation where there was a few things that were a little iffy towards launch, and then as the year went on, they seriously took the community's feedback to heart, and they made the changes that they needed to make. And Call of Duty Vanguard was another in fact, I would say that Vanguard is one of the biggest examples of this. You guys remember Zombies at launch, right? Yeah, it was pretty rough, and while yes, Treyarch were like the main ones developing these zombies in that game, at the end of the day, it was still a Sledgehammer game. At launch, Zombies in that game was like that Outbreak, round-based, kind of like hybrid mode that a lot of the community just really wasn't jiving with, so then they went in and completely redeveloped the game. Again, I know it was Treyarch that was behind that, but at the same time, it was still a Sledgehammer game. And then what do you know? We ended up getting Shi No Numa, which is one of the best round-based maps, period. Yes, it's a remake of a map from 2008, but still, personally speaking, like for me, I'm not saying this is an objective fact or anything like that, but for me personally, Shi No Numa is one of my favorite round-based maps. It's so much fun. And this is coming from the dude that's been playing zombies since World of War in 2008. The only reason I bring any of this up is just to prove that, yes, Sledgehammer actually listens to the community, no matter what the community says, right? Even if Sledgehammer, they put hundreds of man hours, days of man hours, months of man hours into developing these games, if the game comes out and the community as a whole just agrees that like, hey chief, this isn't it, Sledgehammer will go in and they will fix those things, versus the other devs where like Treyarch, most of the time, they do a pretty good job at listening to the community. There's a couple of times where they'll stay a little bullheaded and they'll kind of just do what they think is right. Infinity Ward, on the other hand, they're completely bullheaded. They do not care what the community says. They will just make the game that they want to make, and they're like, they won't change. Sometimes they'll make a few changes to appease the community, but for the most part, yeah, they're just gonna kind of do what they want. And you know, I think that that's a good thing, right? Like, I'm not saying that every dev out there needs to listen to their community. Like, for me personally, I'm glad that Modern Warfare 1 and 2 are the way that they are, and I'm glad that Infinity Ward stayed so bullheaded and just simply made the game that they wanted to make. For me personally, Treyarch has always been my favorite COD developer. The Black Ops games have just always been my favorite, that and World at War. That being said, for the community as a whole, and for like the community's opinions of these games, I see nothing but good things happening with Modern Warfare 3. Like, sure, there's gonna be some negativity surrounding the game. It's just because, you know, Call of Duty is a popular IP, and the more popular it gets, the more the people are gonna hate on it, just because that's what people try to do. I don't know, they think it's cool to hate on whatever's popular. I'm not saying that none of the hate is deserved and that, you know, there isn't things wrong with Call of Duty. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that hate on the game simply because it's popular, so that's what they'll do. It's the same thing that happens with other games like Fortnite and Minecraft, for example. People hate on those games just because they're popular for no reason at all. With that being said, I do think that Modern Warfare 3 has a pretty big chance of being one of the more appealing Call of Duties in terms of like the overall reception from the community, just due to the fact that Sledgehammer is developing this game and they have such a long track record of listening to their community and doing their absolute best to make the game appeal to as many people in the community as possible and making the changes that the community feels like needs to be changed. And furthermore, look at Modern Warfare 3 from 2011. You know, Infinity Ward mainly developed COD 4 and MW2, and they still developed a good bit of MW3, but Sledgehammer did do a lot of the heavy lifting during that game, and now what do you know, MW3 is regarded by some as their favorite Modern Warfare game from that original trilogy. Usually it comes down to either MW2 or MW3, and surprisingly nowadays it's kind of an even split almost. So with all that being said, yeah, I'm pretty hopeful for Modern Warfare 3, and I do believe that there is hope for this game. You know, I've been expressing some worry about this game because if you guys remember, there wasn't supposed to be a Call of Duty coming out this year. It was just going to be like year 2 for Modern Warfare 2. There was going to be like an expansion coming out with some more maps and some changes were going to be made to the game, but now we're getting a new game all of a sudden, which definitely means, yeah, there was a lot of crunch behind this game getting made, and you already know there was definitely a lot of turmoil, and Lord only knows what else behind the scenes. Like, to go from saying, yeah, there's gonna be a year or two for one game, we're gonna put out an expansion, that's gonna be that, to being like, hey, yeah, there's gonna be an entirely new AAA game with its own campaign, its own game modes, everything. Like, this is gonna be an entirely new game. Yeah, I can't even imagine what kind of stress and turmoil has been happening behind the scenes. Like, I don't even want to know. There's probably been more crunch behind the scenes than a chocolate crunch bar. You know what I'm saying? That being said, even if the game does come out in a bit of an iffy place, I do think that Sledgehammer is going to end up listening to the community and making the changes that need to be made. And again, if my example of Call of Duty Vanguard Zombies isn't enough to convince you, look at World War II at launch compared to how it is nowadays. It's essentially a completely different game. The marketing's been pretty promising leading up to MW3 as well. Like, they've been pretty transparent about the fact that, yes, this is basically just going to be Modern Warfare 2, like more of Modern Warfare 2, slightly improved, slightly upgraded. And the fact that they haven't really been trying to hide that makes me more hopeful, because this isn't a thing of like, yes, they are just kind of like selling off this game as an entirely new game, but at the same time, they're not explicitly trying to hide it and be like, hey, this is an entirely new game. Like, no, they have been pretty transparent about the fact that, yes, this is just going to be more of Modern Warfare 2. I mean, it's called Modern Warfare 3. And even with that, it seems like a good bit of work has been going into this game. They've been dropping a bunch of teasers about the new Makarov, about the new campaign. Sledgehammer and Call of Duty have posted up multiple blog posts trying to explain everything about it, like how all the new mechanics work and how the carryover features are going to work. Like, they've been doing their best to like keep up that communication with the community, which is a really promising sign. If we're getting this much communication and transparency from the devs and from Call of Duty in general before the game even launches, I'm pretty hopeful for this year, because again, Sledgehammer is like the one out of any of the devs where they're going to be the most communicative with the community. Treyarch is a close second, but Sledgehammer is the one where they're always listening to the community, and even if changes don't come immediately, they're still listening and they're still communicating, and even if they won't make those changes, they will at least explain why they can't make certain changes. Like, they will always do their best to keep that line of communication up with the community. So between all the promising teasers and trailers that we've been getting, and the fact that this game is literally going to have carryover, so like all other stuff that we've been working for in Modern Warfare 2, none of that's going to waste. We're still going to be able to use it in Modern Warfare 3, so at the very least, once Modern Warfare 3 releases, there's going to be a bunch of content available to us just like straight off the rip, between like all of our weapons and camos and stuff from Modern Warfare 2 that are going to be transferring over. Granted, on top of that, it's not like Modern Warfare 3 is even going to be lacking on content at launch, because Sledgehammer themselves have even said this is one of the most impressive lineups of like content at launch. So all in all, I'm pretty excited. Obviously, we got the full reveal coming in like 4 days from the time that I'm recording this, so yeah, I'll definitely be making a video on that once that releases as well. I might even make like a reaction to it and like kind of like break down the trailer and stuff when it drops. As I said earlier, there's always going to be people that hate on Call of Duty just because it's popular, and that's the popular thing to do. You know, you just hate on whatever's popular. Again, I'm not saying that there's not anything wrong with Call of Duty. Like, obviously there's something, there's always flaws that can be pointed out at literally anything ever, but that being said, yeah, there's always going to be those kids that just hate on it because it's popular. But if you've been one of those people up to this point, I wouldn't write this one off just yet. Like, I'm feeling good about Modern Warfare 3. Am I saying it's going to be the best Call of Duty ever? No, that's always going to be Black Ops 2 in my heart, but I do think that they have some good things in store for us. But anyways, now I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on all of this? Are you hopeful for Modern Warfare 3? Are you not so hopeful? Maybe are you feeling a bit more hopeful for the game after watching this video and being reminded about the fact that Sledgehammer does listen to the community so much? Whatever you're thinking, I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. But anyway, as always, a massive shout out and thank you to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all of you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out and thank you to all of you in the big baller tier, Mellow Asking and Big Daddy Manny, and the biggest shout out and thank you to all of you in the G tier, Runner Vengeance, and Little Cheese Crow. Thank you guys so much. You guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.